We welcome the use of the Welsh language at meetings. I've had no requests for people to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. Members in the chamber, please be aware that we are all on camera and you may be visible on screen when people around you are speaking, and please remember to speak clearly in your microphones. Members participating remotely, can you please refrain from using the chat function and instead use the raised hand icon to indicate when you want to speak, so that I as chair can call you in. Please remember to keep your microphones muted when you are not talking. Moving on to the agenda. Agenda item 1, attendance. Democratic Services will be making a note of members' attendance in the meeting, but should you lose connection, could you possibly leave a comment in the chat bar on your return to ensure that this is picked up. Agenda item 2, apologies for absence. Dominique, have we any apologies, please?
I've had apologies from councillors Ron Burnett, Giles Davis and Kelly Preston.
Thank you very much. Takes us to agenda item 3, the declarations of interest. Gareth Harris, Monitoring Officer and Assistant Chief Legal Officer. Have you any advice for members, please?
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'm not aware of any declarations from members, but I'd like to draw your attention to agenda item number 10, and that relates to the local government elections, fees and charges. The Chief Executive Officer and Lyndon Puddy will be leaving the meeting when this item is being discussed, as they are affected by the report. But I would ask that Council agrees that Caroline Jennifer Jones, who also has an interest in this item, is given permission to remain to answer questions only. So can I ask members to agree? If I don't hear of any objections, I will assume that members have agreed to that. I haven't anything further to add. Thank you, Presiding Member.
Thank you. Councillor Stuart Ashley, you have your hand up.
Yes, seek advice from the monitoring officer. Item number 9, appointment of community councillor representatives, ethics and standards. Councillor Brooks, it's mentioned in this item, is actually the chair of Cumbrian Community Council, which I'm the deputy leader, and then we have other members that are on that council. Do we have to declare?
No, I don't think in this instance there's no need, Councillor Ashley.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, can you take your hand down? Thank you. Agenda item 4, confirmation of the council minutes of the 16th of the 11th, 21, starting on page 3. Members, could you possibly state whether you have anything to raise in relation to these minutes? If not, I will take the item as approved. That's approved. Thank you very much, everybody. Agenda item 5. Members, the updates on what has been done to implement our previous decisions start on page 21 of the agenda. Could you possibly indicate whether you have any questions or comments? No? Can I ask members whether they agree to note the update on the actions then, please? Thank you, members. They are noted. Agenda item 6, receipt of petitions. We have no petitions this morning. So moving on to agenda item number 7, public question time. There are no public questions, so we move on to agenda item number 8, which is the announcement of the leader or chief executive. Leader, do you have any announcements to make, please?
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of things to mention. First of all, I'd like to wish members a very happy Christmas. And to thank staff and members for all their hard work this year. It's been another testing year, yeah, thank you to everything you've done, and best wishes hopefully for a somewhat smoother 2022 for everyone. Secondly, I'd just like to mention that we convened a meeting yesterday to look at how we can further help with the max vaccination team effort across Torvine, working with an Iron Bevan University Health Board and other partners like TLT to help get as many people booster jabbed as possible, as quickly as possible. So we're making efforts there, and any help members can give with that would be greatly appreciated. And just an appeal to the public, please to help protect yourself and those you love by getting vaccinated when you're called for an appointment. Lastly, I'd just like to thank the members who invited me along to the unveiling of the bench in memory of Ray Williams recently. That was a lovely event to remember a colleague who we all remember fondly, and thank you for the invite along to that one. Take care. That's it.
Thank you, Leader. Chief Executive, do you have any questions or announcements?
If I may, Madam Presiding Member, I'd just like to update members on the pressures actually faced by adult social care across the borough. You may remember me highlighting challenges in this area a few months ago at Council. So adult social care currently supports around 570 people in their own homes through the provision of domiciliary care, and roughly speaking, providing around 8,500 hours per week. 85% of that is outsourced to the private care sector. About 15% of it is delivered in-house by council services. So it's fair to say, of course, that the threat of a crisis in social care across the UK has been looming for a number of years, but it does remain unresolved. It's fair also, I think, to say that just like the NHS, COVID has had a large impact on the sector. And the combination, I think, of historical challenges along with the new ones seems to be the perfect storm, I suppose. And services are reaching the point of crisis. So all local authorities across the UK are under significant pressure, and Torfaen in one sense is not that much different to them. I do recognise, though, of course, that members here will take very little comfort from that. So specifically, though I emphasise not uniquely for Torfaen, over the last 6 months, the sector, both internally and externally, have reported increasing difficulties, particularly around recruiting and retaining staff. And that, coupled with sickness and periods of required COVID-related isolation, has significantly reduced the number of carers that are available. And whilst the number of carers has reduced, the demand for care, of course, has not. So at its most basic, then, our system has reached a point of saturation, and as such, currently has more demand for care than we are able to consistently meet. So the first thing is I'd like to assure members that despite the challenges, that adult social care services are working harder than ever to keep pace and to keep people safe. They have taken mitigating action with regards to recruitment and, where possible, right-sizing packages so that we can reduce the gap. We're working closely with our local providers, with regional partners who are under similar pressures, and we're in regular dialogue with Welsh Government, who are acutely aware of the challenges across the country. Certainly worth mentioning also here that Councillor Daniels, who obviously leads the portfolio for adults, is heavily engaged in supporting the Directorate, but also in dialogue at a national level. So most importantly, we are maintaining communication with our residents and their families who are in receipt of care, and we want to thank them, of course, for their understanding and support. So I'm naturally taking a personal interest in this area, and I've been nominated for the co-lead role for health, social care and community safety portfolio for Solace. So I'll be working closely with Welsh LGA and Welsh Government on finding longer term solutions for the sector. But as well as thanking our residents and their families for the support and understanding, our message is one of reassurance for them. We'll continue to work hard, supporting them to build on their strengths, promoting and maximising their independence and well-being, but of course keeping them safe. I wish, I suppose, I could offer members and our residents a more upbeat message today, but the fact is that there's no silver bullet to be had here. And as such, in fact, I do recognise, of course, I should say, that members will be keen to know more and will want to influence and shape the work going forward. And as such, the leader and Councillor Daniels have requested an urgent all-member seminar to take place early in the new year to focus specifically on adult social care pressures. Officers of the Council certainly welcome that approach, recognise the value it will add, and would like to thank you in advance for your support, members. Just to end my announcements, if I can, Madam Presiding Member, I'd like to thank adult social care staff and their supporting staff for their ongoing hard work. Like all frontline workers, I think their bravery and hard work needs to be acknowledged. It's worth noting, I think, that just to put some context around that when many of us, including myself, will be in the safety of our own homes during the holiday period, including on Christmas Day. Many of these staff will be working to support our most vulnerable residents in their homes and in the homes in which they live. And I think I certainly am grateful for that. That is the end of my announcements today, Madam Presiding Member. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Executive. I'm sure all members here share our concerns, and they're, you know, a member of a third sector. I'm sure there is help out there. It just needs to be brought to the fore, and to get those people out there that are looking for a job to get into the care service. So there's never ever a more rewarding service, having worked 20 years myself there. So thank you very much. And a big thank you to our staff, of course. Takes us, any other comments on that? On the Chief Exec or the Leader? Thank you. Takes us to agenda item 9, which is the appointment of the Community Council representative on the Ethics and Standards Committee. That report is on page 23. Deleth Harris, Monitoring Officer and Assistant Chief Legal Officer, could you deliver your report, please?
Thank you, Presiding Member. This report is to seek approval to appoint a Community Councillor representative to the Ethics and Standards Committee until May of next year. Regulations specify that the membership of the Standards Committee shall include at least one Community Councillor. Councillor Stephen Brooks was appointed by the Council in 2017 to be the Community Council representatives on the committee. That his term of office is now ended, and it is proposed that Councillor Brooks sits on the committee until May 2022. The community councillors and Councillor Brooks have been consulted, and there is no objection to this proposal. So the recommendation is that Council agrees to appoint Councillor Stephen Brooks as a Community Council representative on the Ethics and Standards Committee until May 2022. Thank you, Presiding Member.
Thank you, Deleth. Members, do I have your agreement on those recommendations? I have a hand up. Stephen Evans.
Yeah, am I allowed to vote on it or abstain because I'm a sitting member on that committee? Just a verification.
You are allowed to vote, Councillor Evans.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm quite happy to vote.
Thank you. I'll ask members again. Are you happy to agree these recommendations then, please? Thank you very much. That takes us to agenda item number 10. Fees payable to the returning officer and staff, local government elections in May 2022. On page 25. Nigel Aurelius, the Assistant Chief Executive Resources. Could you deliver your report, please? And I believe this is the report where members, some officers will leave. Is it, Deleth?
That's correct. The Chief Executive and Linda Pedsy will actually have to leave the meeting during this item, and I think officers then will bring them back in. Thank you.
Thank you, Deleth. Thank you very much.
Madam Presiding Member, can I just check? Will I be removed from the meeting, or how will I know when to come back in?
If you press the leave button, I think somebody, perhaps Chris Slade, will inform you, Chief Executive, when you'll be able to come back in. He'll notify you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Exec. Nigel Aurelius, Assistant Chief Executive Resources. Could you now deliver your report, please?
Thank you, Chair. I'm sure all members of Council realise there's an election next May, and we have to, establish the proper fees to be payable. We usually set them once, every 5 years. So the last time they were set was 2016. Then they'll work on a 5-year cycle. And any elections, these fees will be payable for. The returning officer fees are set in legislation, so that's straightforward. But we have to set the fees for all the staff and all the others who work on the elections. So we've liaised with other authorities, and we believe the fees that we've set in Appendix 1 are consistent both with other authorities and the need to retain, staff and allow staff, make sure we have the appropriate number of experienced staff to carry out the elections. The fees are there set out in Appendix 1, breaking them down, showing what the returning officer, and then showing all the various other fees. We obviously fund this from a reserve that we specifically set up for funding our elections, and we add to in the intervening years. Caroline's in the chamber. Should any members have any questions, but hopefully it's a fairly straightforward report. Thank you, Chair.
I don't see anybody signifying to speak. I'll take you straight to the recommendations then. And the recommendations are, in 8.1 on page 28, the Council approves the fees payable to the returning officer and associated staff for local government elections to be held on the 5th of May 2022 in accordance with the figures set out in Appendix 1 and are in place for the next 5 years. 8.1.3 agrees that the Council insurance covers the returning officer and staff for any area of the election work which will indemnify the returning officer for any policy excess. Are you happy to agree those recommendations? Thank you very much. That's carried.
Madam Presiding Members, Councillor Kemp, can I put in a point of order here? In regarding the voting, I don't have a problem with you stating how many for, but if you like, on the team screen, you can only see so many councillors, and basically, I believe it would be necessary to also ask how many against and how many abstain. And this has happened on a number of occasions, particularly this particular meeting. Going forward, could I ask that you also ask those members who are against and abstain for each of the agenda items, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. My mistake and my apologies. I've asked members if they agree with the report. Are there anyone against? I don't see any hands up. Is there any abstentions, please? Thank you very much. That report is carried. Agenda item 11, motion on notice. There are no motions on notice, so we'll move on. Agenda item 12, members' question time. There are 3 members' questions today. Let's get my sheet, excuse me. And the first question is Councillor Janet Jones, and it's a question to Councillor Mandy Owen, the Executive Member for the Environment. Councillor Janet Jones, please.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Before I raise my question, I did raise my hand earlier to say on behalf of the Independent Group to thank all our staff and officers for the extremely hard work they've done under this difficult year. We wish them the best wishes for Christmas and a healthy and peaceful New Year. So thanks to everybody from all the Independent Group members. I'll now go on to my question, please. The recent incident on Blenheim Road has sadly gone on to highlight the continued issues of safety faced by many councillors on a daily basis in and around our schools. Could the authority now instruct or authorise our highways officers to undertake a full review of highway safety around all our schools in the borough?
Councillor Mandy Owen, the Executive Member for the Environment. Can you answer that question, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Jones, for your question. I advised members by email last week that a members' seminar on road safety will be held in the new year, where members and officers can consider the legal framework and associated guidance, as well as funding conditions within which the council and their partners work. The police and GoSafe, who also have a responsibility for road safety, have been invited to attend the seminar so that a complete picture can be considered. I'm hoping that this can increase understanding and collectively we can continue to work together to improve road safety in our borough. Officers have already commissioned a review looking at the feasibility and suitability of placing speed activation signs outside schools across the borough.
This may help to address speed, but it will not address unsuitable parking and obstructions, which we know are a feature at drop-off and collection time outside schools. I'm hoping this review will be nearing completion or completed by the members' seminar, and we will of course engage members on the outcomes and the way forward. I'd like to remind members that 20 miles an hour will become the default speed limit in urban areas in 2023. It is anticipated that this will make a big impact on speed issues more broadly. I'm also pleased to report that schools are once more open for engagement with our road safety team, who will look at travel plans and work with schools and governors to ensure parents and carers are given the appropriate advice on how best to bring and pick up their children from school. I'd like to offer assurance that road safety is important to Torfaen Council, particularly around schools. I'm hopeful that what we've outlined will help, and look forward to engaging with you all as we look into this very serious issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. It's an observation. Isn't this a case of shutting the stable door after the horse has bolted? Because whilst I agree with what you said in your seminar, for the last 2 years, Councillor Evans, Councillor Jenkins and myself have been faced issues at Blenavon Heritage School. We've worked with our highways, we've worked with the police, we've worked with Go Safety, but we keep coming up with the same problems: the regulations, finance, negativity. There isn't enough police to monitor the situations. There aren't enough enforcement officers. So, to help us to do what we want to. And issues I don't think are going to go away, even if we have a seminar. As I said, we've worked for over 2 years and we are really struggling to get any response. And everything that we as councillors put forward can't be achieved. It comes down to finance, the lack of staff, as I said, against on enforcement.
Is there a supplementary, Councillor Jones?
Basically, it's an observation. Whilst I welcome the report, I'm really not sure that we're going to still achieve anything. But I welcome the seminar and see if we can have a way forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. I'm sure members share your concerns. Councillor David.
Just make one comment. Yes, by working together and looking at the moment, we are governed by guidelines and regulations. So hopefully at the seminar, by working together, we are reviewing things going forward. But it has to be said as well, a lot of these schools, parents have a responsibility as well to park properly. And it's not just your school. There are lots of schools around the borough where, lots of parents are picking up and dropping off at school. So, it's going to involve everyone, not just the police or Go Safe or council. It's every one of us. Thank you.
Thanks, Mandy.
Mandy Owen. Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor David Thomas, your question, please.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. The Executive Member for the Environment recently explained to members that a lot of problems facing the recycling service is due to the age of the vehicles. I would be grateful if the Executive Member could tell members how old these vehicles are. I would also like to ask how much the cost of the new fleet will be offset by the trade-in value of the old ones.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Residual values, as I'm sure you're aware, are difficult to estimate and will be determined by the condition, market needs and market conditions at the time. This is even more so with the vehicles we're talking about. I can advise that our recycling fleet, the current average age of the recycling vehicles are 10 years old. Our assessment, based upon best market and vehicle conditions, is that the residual value could be up to £210,000. For our 6 food and card vehicles, they too are 10 years old, with an anticipated residual value of £70,000. However, let me stress these are estimates and they could very well change. We do not build these values into base budgets as estimates, but we do own most of the vehicles, so any residual value will be invested back into the service. However, as you've seen in the recent Cabinet report, the new fleet of 18 vehicles will cost just under £3 million if we bought outright. That's a difference of £2.7 million. However, our intention is to lease these vehicles through the revenue budget, but the overall lifetime cost will be of the same order.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Councillor Thomas, do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you, Madam Presiding Member.
Thank you very much. Councillor Aaron Slade, will you ask your question, please?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. Would the appropriate executive member confirm that this authority will be making a bid to the Levelling Up Fund and describe the projects which are currently being considered for a bid?
Morning, members, and thank you for your question, Councillor Slade. Can I refer you to the Cabinet report on the 25th of May, which outlined our strategy? As you will be aware, we did not make a bid this year. However, we have made it clear that we will be submitting an application to the Levelling Up Fund in 2022. As the report outlines, we have prioritised town centres, given the need for recovery and revitalisation. Town centres were struggling before COVID, and now the pandemic has only made those challenges even harder. In terms of specific projects, we are looking at connecting Pontypool Town with the park, working with landlords to bring vacant properties back into use in both Pontypool and Blenavon, and we are in conversation with the potential new owners of Cumbraon Town Centre on their priorities for investment and improvement works. We are, of course, fully committed to engaging with elected members and already have a date in our diaries for a seminar on the 17th of January on preparing a Levelling Up Fund.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Alan Slade, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, thank you. The current local development plan provided for a strategic action area in the Four-Jammer area of Cumbraon near the town centre. It is now being proposed that this canal-side development be dropped from the new LDP because no developer has shown any interest in it due to its viability. I believe that this lack of interest is entirely due to the fact the canal is not navigable to the canal-side area.
Question, I can't hear any of it. It's going in and out.
Yes, sorry, Alan. You are echoing quite badly and members can't hear. Are all
Shall I start again,
off?
Chair? Shall I start again?
Please.
The current local development plan provided for a strategic action area in the Four-Jammer area of Cumbraon near the town centre. It is now being proposed that this canal-side development be dropped from the new LDP because no developer has shown any interest in it.
No, I'm sorry, Councillor Slade, it's awful. Can somebody else read it out? Is there a better microphone in the chamber for Councillor Slade to use?
We'll try again. The current local development plan provided for a strategic action area in the Four-Jammer area of Cumbraon near the town centre called Canalside. It is now being proposed that this Canalside development be dropped from the new LDP because no developer has shown any interest in it due to its viability. I believe that this lack of interest is entirely due to the fact that the canal is not navigable to the canal-side area, which I will say is near the town centre. Does the executive member agree with this conclusion? And can she explain why the reopening of the canal to navigation to the canal-side area has not been given great priority?
I am sorry, but we can't hear it online. Councillor Gordon, do you have the supplementary question?
No, I don't, but the little bits I picked up from what Councillor Slade has said, I would need to get some information from officers to provide a detailed response to that question in any case. So I picked up that it's about the strategic action area in Four-Jammer being removed from the LDP and something about Canalside. So I would need to get more information. So if it's okay with Councillor Slade, I can email a response to all members.
Madam Presiding Member, I am quite happy to email the executive member with the supplementary, and thank you for her answer. Cheers.
That would be really useful. Thank you, Councillor Slade. I'm sorry about that, but members can't hear. It's breaking up really badly online. So thank you for that. We take you to agenda item 13, Cabinet Decisions for the 23rd of November 2021. The Cabinet decisions start on page 35 and are for Council to note. Are you all happy to note those, please? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Thank you very much, they're noted. There were no challenges to the decisions. Thank you very much. Agenda item 14, which is the date and time of the next meeting. And for your information, members, the next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, the 25th of January, and it's my birthday. at 10 a.m. So thank you, members. That's the end of the meeting. May I take this opportunity to wish all our staff, their families, our residents, and all of you a very happy and healthy 2022. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.